All right. I hope you're not hearing that glitching that I am. I hope it's just my headphones sounding weird. But hello, welcome back. This is Matt, the Casual Green Gamer, and we have returned back to the Factorio playthrough. The classic, pure, unmodded, unaltered playthrough. The mission, beat the game. After putting in well over 1,000 hours into this game, I am going to actually beat the game for once. I know it might sound ridiculous to have put in over 1,000 hours of playtime into a game and not beaten it, but that's my story. That's how it went for me. Various reasons. I've played through the parts of the game, restarted it, played through that parts of the game, restarted it, found a mod pack or an overhaul mod, and I thought, I want to toy around with this thing for a while, let's do that. Didn't finish that either. And I couldn't begin to describe you the mountains of different playthroughs I've started and never finished. I'm like the doctor from Jimmy Neutron, the guy who can't even finish his own sentences. And if anyone understands that reference, you're cool. If not, that's fine. Maybe I'm just old. Doesn't really matter. Either way, we're going to jump back in. Just to confirm that this is an unmodded run, I'm going to run down my list here to show that there are no mods installed at the moment. Yep. And if you're thinking to yourself, that's a lot of mods, you're right, it is a lot of mods. Too many mods, won't argue. But then again, does anyone ever say that when you're into mods? I mean, but we can confirm the only things I have running are the base game and Space Age, which is the expansion pack. It's official, so I'm not counting it as like a mod per se. It does change the game, but that's generally what expansions do. And then we got this. I think that is what I did. Yep. Onward to glory. Let's go. Alright. Here we are currently. It's current map. There's our pollution pack. Pollution cloud is what I meant to say. There's the biters up there. We did get attacked by biters in the last playthrough, but that was I think that was a patrol party looking for a new base to expand, and then they just happened to run afoul of me, so bad luck for them. But all right, so what we did last time was we got this smelting stack here set up, designed for what's the word I'm looking for. This should pump out a full belt of iron just by itself. It's ratioed in that direction. It's a little bit different from what other Factorio players tend to do when they're making their smelting stacks, but sorry about that. It should sorry about that again. It should be able to accomplish our goals. These are just distance markers, so I know how far away from the thing to build. I want to make sure there's at least decent roof space between the iron patch and the smelting stack. Don't exactly ask me why. I have my reasons, but I think it would take too long to explain. It might not make a whole lot of sense. In fact, it might have been pointless. All right. I'm going to confirm. At the moment, we do not have any nests in our pollution cloud, which is good. Which means we won't be getting attacked anytime soon, barring any random patrols like last time. We got our basic science build over here. Now, I got myself a smelting stack. Might as well make sure it's actually smelting something. So, first things first, however, I believe I am going to I'm gonna start with iron. Get the iron mine going. Not iron, the coal mine. Get your facts straight, man. Okay, knock this out the way. Okay, so I'm gonna start with coal because I need to make sure I can keep my my power supplied at all times, and I'm gonna need. We're still in a burner phase of sorts. We're not using burner miners. We won't be using burner miners anymore, but everything will be coal powered. So gotta make sure you got that. And while we're at this, I'm gonna need more miners. Okay, line up. That should be good there. Now how I'm gonna do this. Going to point this out and then bring it up. Then right around here, I think. I suppose the question is how many miners can I squeeze into this patch? Only one way to find out. Look at that. There, and then can only do this far. That should be mostly coverage. This little coal patch is gonna be a little bit annoying. This is what I hate about patches being too close to each other. They block me from making full saturated stuff. I could just fully saturate this entire coal mine, but then I would start dragging up stone, and I don't need that. I'd rather them be separate from each other, and then I'll just belt them otherwise. But nothing we can do about it now. That's the seed we lucked into. Alright, so we got 3 lines. I guess I only really need 2, so let's compress them into 2. And by compress them, I'm going to use belt balancers. Do I have... I don't have the means to make a belt balancer, do I? I'm going to have to wait for the thing to handcraft. This guy's not... Oh, yeah. It's not even attached to anything. There you go. Right around here, we're going to get, yeah, so this should be fine. Or maybe not. Should probably raise this up a bit. Yeah, lead. We're gonna be splitting off the coal into 2 directions. This one here is gonna be lead straight to the power. There we go. I might just wait for these to clear out before I plug it in properly. I might. I don't know. I might. I don't really know. I suppose it doesn't really matter either way. I'm. If I plug it in now, I'll just have the coal sitting in a box, and I don't have any issue with coal sitting in a box. It's just I don't want the coal to be sitting in the box. If that makes sense at all. I'd rather be using up my resources, not just steaming boxes and like forgetting about them. Not that I would forget about them. That I don't know if that train of thought makes sense to anybody, but for the time being, and as you can see, I've already got coal in a box over there. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna let these run and then wait until the boxes until those boxes are empty before I fully plug it in. For the meantime, I will still get it set up so I can start feeding coal into the smelting stack. I'll be struggling to find my words here. Of course, that's just me normally. Get this guy here, and then all I gotta do is turn it on. Better make sure I got a defensive perimeter. I'm gonna need more gun turrets. This is not nearly enough. And don't worry, those are just worms. Those are not biter nests. Those are just worms. They're not absorbing pollution. Worms don't absorb pollution. So I could leave those guys down there until they inconvenience me at some point. Could be, and that could take who knows what form that could take. I could just wander in and they just start spitting at me, or maybe I just feel like shooting them. I don't know. Could happen either way, honestly. But as it is, I'm not concerned about it because they don't absorb pollution, which means biters aren't going to be attacking me because the worms absorbing pollution. Like, they have no time for that. That said, I'm going to be producing a lot more pollution once I go with this coal mine, so I better increase my defenses. Gonna be handcrafting a lot of this for a while. And my power supply. Gonna need to expand my power supply. Get that. Of course, that's gonna take a bit, so I'm gonna have to deal with it. Before I do that, though, I need enough for a 3-to-2 balancer. Okay, here you go. I'm gonna be using a lot. I'm gonna be making heavy use of belt balances in this run because I like belt balances. That's the short and simple explanation. Of course, I'm still gonna deal with wait times. Once I got my gun turrets finished, then the things will finish and then everything. I'm queuing everything up, and then it will finish eventually. Hopefully before I get mowed down. I wonder if it's because of all the trees, but the pollution cloud is not expanding a ton, which is the main benefit of, spawning in a biome with all these trees. I don't know if it doesn't really matter at this point. I could check on the evolution for the biters, but that's not really going to do me much good at this point. Since they're not absorbing pollution, their evolution isn't going to be going very far anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Alright, get me some ammo there. I might just, let's see, but that's no, too far away. Gotta remind myself, I'm not using the far reach mod, so, I gotta be closer to do things. Gotta remind myself that this is not a run where we're using mods, and thus there's a lot of quality of life mods that are not being featured in here. Which is only mildly annoying, honestly. Like, it would be a lot more annoying if I were wholly reliant on those mods, but I can manage just fine. It's only slightly annoying. I should get rid of... gotta clear myself some space, which means I gotta... the unfortunate trade-off. You got lots of trees, but you got very little space, and with very little space means, But you get more pollution cover. However, to get more space, you need to cut down trees. Then to cut down trees, you get rid of your pollution cover. It's not a great thing, but what can you do? And then I'm just gonna knock these guys off. Prepare to set up the iron mine. And a little power cable tangle over here. Gonna fix this up for a little bit. Yeah, darn trees are in my way. Get that, put that right there, and will that work? No, too short. There we go. It's the thing you gotta deal with when you're making changes to your base. You gotta tear down the old stuff, put up the new stuff. Can get tedious after a while, but it's the name of the game. Alright, we got our power. It's about to be. I'm gonna get ourselves some power here in a bit. I should feel it. I should finish the balancer. The idea of this is, I'm gonna have. I'm gonna get 3 belts worth of 3 belts from this mine here, but I only need like 2 lanes worth of input, worth of output. So I'm gonna. This balancer essentially will compress the 3 belts into 2. So, and it keeps them balanced too. Like hence the name belt balancer. So all 3 lanes are being distributed evenly into the 2 lanes that I want. Obviously, I only have the 1 lane going into it at the moment, but I'll get the other ones eventually. I just want to make sure I have infrastructure set up first. Now, speaking of which, I need to expand power because I'm gonna put down more miners, and those take up electricity, and that I'm gonna need. I'm getting stuck in my thoughts here. Gonna have to expand the power grid because that's what I need for I need more electricity, so we gotta expand the power grid. Let's go with that. I don't know if that was that was exactly what I was gonna say, but it is now. There. Do I need pipes? This will definitely more than double my power production. Hopefully, the single line of coal should feed this just fine. I don't really know what the ratio of. I couldn't tell you what the proper ratio of belts to steam engines are, or boilers to be more specific. But I believe this should be good. And alright. We got ourselves a decent amount of power to work with, so we can get to work on the iron mine. I'm gonna let this run a little bit longer so that all the iron is getting smelted properly. Because I don't really want iron ore in my inventory at the moment. Let's expand the coal mine. Get that set up there. Get the belts up. Get that up. And this will make the 3 lines that will connect to the balancer. And then we'll have ourselves decently saturated. Coal goes a long way, honestly. I don't know how to explain it, but you can run there. You'll often hit a point where you're not producing enough iron or copper. But the great thing about coal is that how much coal you go through depends on how much fuel you're consuming, and so thanks to the fuel value in the coal, it'll even a small patch of coal will go for a while, which is great in the early game because having to manage all this coal can be a headache. But that should be good there. Well, these guys are done smelting, so now I'm gonna take these apart, get our iron mine going. You've done your duty, sirs. I hope I have enough space in my inventory. Before I do that, I need to automate. I'm gonna automate ammo production because I get the feeling I'm gonna need it. 3 guns here, not nearly enough guns. But it's what I got for the time being, and that's why it's necessary for me to automate ammo. Let's start with... How are we doing this? Get that there. Nope, wrong way. Alright. Make sure they're plugged in. There you go. Okay. There you go. Should make like a stack of ammo, I guess. I should do more. Okay, that should give me a couple stacks. It ain't Speedy Gonzalez, but it'll do its job. Meanwhile, while I'm waiting on that, let's get the iron mine going. Let's get you out of the way real quick. Having to manually put down mines is an aspect of the game that I've kind of forgotten about. Because I usually use this thing called the map, the mining patch planner. It's a mod that basically plans out the layout for your mines for you. You know, gets everything placed in a laid out in a efficient manner. Can't use that in this run for obvious reasons. So I am going to miss it a little bit, but once again, I can manage. This ain't my first rodeo. This thing's not gonna last very long. This iron patch here is not gonna last very long. I can tell you right now. Thankfully, I got some iron patches right there, and they're both significantly have significantly more iron in them than this one does. Of course, I think that's just because it's a starting patch. The thing about starting patches, they never have a whole lot. Better get myself more electrical poles. Gonna run out soon. Let's see. Start here. Get those connected. Get the iron mine going. And voila, we got iron. Let's see. I should do straight shot should work just fine. But I'm gonna get my other lane. The other lane of coal. One's going to power, making sure I got power. All that's working over there. Good stuff. Let's bring the other lane this way. You need coal to fuel the furnaces, so let's bring the coal over. Bring it down here. It's a good thing I built those splitters earlier, because I'm going to need them right about now. Wait, that's not how I normally do it. There you go. And of course, there's always trees in the way. I could go around the trees, but I'm stubborn like that. I have a vision, you see? I gotta make sure I meet the vision. It ain't a brilliant vision, and it's definitely not a pretty one, but it's a vision. Alright, that should be good to go. Now, that gives us our coal for the furnace stack. And then, that will be the connector for the iron, which I'm going to connect like this. And man, I run so slow. Keep this going and down, and connect. And oh my goodness, I nailed it. I don't know how I did, but I nailed it. Of course, this ain't gonna do me much good because I'm not getting any power to the smelting stack because this is a fully electric. Well, not fully electric. That's inaccurate. It's a electric. The inserters are fully electric, And if I got full electric inserters, I'm going to need electricity to go to said electric inserters. Alright, that's plugged in. Power is on. Make sure everything is functioning as intended. Iron enters here. And there we go. We got ourselves some iron. Now I just need one little step here to finish the process. Do I want this? Let's go this way. All right. Set that up there. Doing this. Grab a box. Got some plug up iron, and voila, we have ourselves a belt of iron. Fully automated. It only took us maybe an hour and a half. Man, I forget how dark it is without lamps. But that's that taken care of. Next thing I suppose will be to get the copper mines set up. Hopefully I have enough power to do it. Otherwise I'm gonna have to. Oh yeah, no, we're good. We're good. We're good. I can definitely set up another mine. However, I'm gonna need a lot more resources before I do that. So, maybe not a lot more. I need more belts is what I need. And ammo. I'm definitely going to need plenty of ammo. With that in mind, let's set this up here. A small increase of the defensive capability. At current evolution, which I'm willing to guess we're not anywhere near evolution, the next stage of evolution. So we should only be getting like the small kind of biters. And my gun turrets, even without walls, are like literally a single gun turret can handle even a small army of small biters. So I'm not super concerned about my defenses at the moment. So with that in mind, I need to automate a couple things. One of which is belts. There we go. Built automation's up good to go. I suppose I should. I know I already got an ammo thing set up back at the base, but I don't need this many boxes. Is this overkill? Eh, slightly. But I'm definitely going to need a lot of ammo. Alright, belts and ammo automated. Those things are definitely very important, so we're off to a flying start. Clearly one belt of iron ore is not going to keep this one smelting stack fully saturated, so I better add on to that. So at the very least I have plenty of iron to go. I forget about how slim the amounts are in miners. I don't know where my head is at today. I'm having a hard time finishing my thoughts. Not to worry though, on to the next thing, which will probably be the copper mine. So I'm going to need more miners for that. You did your duty, however brief it was. Thank you, sir. And I don't know what I expected. I think I did something wrong. That should have pumped out way more ammo than that. Huh. Weird. Alright, nothing to do about it now. Alright. Let's see. Gun turret coverage should be decent on these spots. I better be extra careful about that smelting stack, because the last time I left the area of my base marginally unoccupied, I got trashed. So let's avoid that. Especially with this base over here, it's like 5 whole nests, so that's gonna be quite sizable if they ever get upset. And then there's that one over there and that one over there. So we got 3 nests to worry about at the moment. Still not polluting any of them, which is great. But nonetheless, it pays to be prepared. Get these gun turrets here. Let's see, 1 and 2, 34. Alright. Should be a good, decent start there. Collecting quite a bit of iron. Alright. I'm definitely gonna need that copper mine up soon. I'm gonna need the copper for more gun turrets. More gun turrets means more safety, so definitely gonna have to prioritize that. Get that taken care of. I forgot I had this whole burner set up down here that I've literally been neglected up to this point. Yeah, take these guys down, let those smelt for a while. Yep, this thing's gonna run down fast. I don't know how soon I'm gonna need this, but I'm probably gonna need these other iron patches a lot sooner than I think. And of course, I'm gonna need more copper patches too. So we don't need a ton of copper this early, but definitely gonna need it at some point. So what did I come all this way for? I ran up here for a reason. Probably put these guys in here. And this one, I'm just going to put this in a box. I already got 2 boxes worth of coal. These guys are working on it. Well, I guess there's nothing to it just to get started. I could grab myself some more belts. Definitely going to need more of those. I could use... It occurs to me that I'm going to need a lot more inserters. I need another stack setup is what I need. Let's just do that. Copy and paste. Of course. I'll put these back when I got my space figured out. So it doesn't really matter. Alright, I'm gonna need at least a lot more of everything. Start with the inserters. I'm gonna need plenty of splitters, plenty of lamps. I think I got enough power poles. And of course, belts. I'm gonna need lots of belts. It's a process, all this. You might think I've overbuilt slightly, and perhaps I have, but I'd rather overbuild than underbuild. Just a personal preference, you know. All right, gotta assemble this one piece at a time, just like the last one. That's gonna be for a while. Gotta stop misplacing these things. Odds are I also get very tedious after a while, having to constantly just do everything manually. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to wait all the way till like blue signs before I can get bot automation. Who knows how long that? Who knows how far away that is? I could just speed my way towards blue science, which is not something I've ever been particularly good at, but there's reason enough to push for that sort of thing. I'm realizing I'm gonna need red inserters. Let's see. Don't have to worry about that for the time being. Just gonna get this set up here. Get that knocked out. I mentioned earlier that this is a little different from your typical one. Most smelting stacks have like a single lane, and so the center lane is where the iron plates are deposited, and it's fed from the two sides. Most people obviously will merge will merge two lanes together. A lane of iron ore and a lane of coal, and then a single inserter will pull from that same lane both iron and coal, and then it'll just deposit on the center lane. It is probably a more efficient one than this because you're using less inserters. You don't even have to use the long ones. And if you're thinking to yourself, if it's more efficient, why don't you use that method? I used to do that method. I think my conclusion was I usually make a point of when I first got into Factorio. I made a point of not referencing other people's work because I wanted to solve the game on my own with my own ideas and my own processes, which was tricky at first. There's some things that kind of just go over my head. Even basic stuff. Like, it was a while before I ever realized I could just use a single lane of iron to do multiple things. What I would used to do in the early days was use a single line of a single smelting line to accomplish like a single goal. So this line here is it feeds into the belt lane, and this one here feeds into the inserters, and this one here. The amount of spaghetti I got up to in my old playthroughs was not legendary, but I imagine it would be very familiar to veteran Factorio players. I imagine it's exactly what you would expect from a beginner Factorio player. And I see. I'm gonna have to expand the copper mine. Yeah, it's only feeding one lane now. Yep, I'm gonna have to expand this. Alright. I'm still waiting on components to my smelting stack anyway. Anyway, for the long story short, I continue to use this particular design because it's a design I made myself and I have a slight attachment to it. When I concluded I was gonna need to do like a whole smelting stack and everything, this is the design that came to mind. And I think that's a nice part of Factorio, is that there's a lot of freedom to build your factory the way you want to. It may not be the most brilliant, most efficient way for the factory to operate, but it was a design you made with your own ideas and creativity, and that's something I think is very much in line with very much in line with what they're intended for Factorio players anyway. I did do it for a while, the more standard way of feeding the more classic smelting stack. In fact, I think I had it blueprinted somewhere. I just don't remember where I left it. I don't know. I like this design. It works. It's worked pretty well. It works pretty well for me. It does exactly as intended, especially when I ratioed it properly. Same ratio. It works with the same number of furnaces. And as long as I've got a decent amount of coal feeding it, of iron and coal feeding into it, and it pumps out exactly what I need. At a pretty decent rate. So maybe it's not the most efficient. Maybe it's more efficient than people give it credit for. I don't really know. All I know is that it works. And as far as I'm concerned, that's all I need. If it works, it works. It's not exactly a motto, but it is something I like to say. It's right up there with that classic line, if it's stupid but works, it's not stupid. I should probably make that my motto. That would be that's definitely in line with maybe not wholly in line. I mean, it makes sense. I have a lot of ideas and solutions to problems that honestly were kind of dumb in the long run. Were kind of dumb, but it worked, didn't it? Sorry, it's a Shrek quote. Okie dokie. Coal mine's doing its work. Don't need to worry about that. I'm still I'm a little surprised that the pollution cloud does not expand nearly as much as it has. It's probably gonna shoot up pretty soon here. So it's best not to dilly dally. Not that I am dilly dallying, just I can only move so fast, you know. I mean, you see how fast this guy runs. I don't know if that lore. I imagine there's a reasoning lore-wise. Odds are he's like, you know, carrying a lot of heavy stuff, so he can't only run so fast. Another possible way to look at it is that there's a lot more distance between him and these things than we can see because we're zoomed out so far. Maybe he's just not. Maybe he's just not a fast runner. These are unimportant questions, but hey, they're fun. They're fun to answer. I kid you not. I was watching a video a few days ago where a guy actually made a video trying to figure out how much the Factorio engineer could theoretically carry, based on the fact that you can fill this entire inventory with all kinds of items, including like full-blown nuclear reactors. And it's led into the question of how strong is this guy if he can carry a full-blown nuclear reactor in his pocket? Hilariously, it's not the first video he's done in that vein. And when you look at other characters and people you've played throughout games and all that, it becomes very clear that most fictional protagonists in video games are inhumanly strong. I'm pretty sure the strongest thus far, based on like real world numbers and math that the guy went through, I think the conclusion he came to was the strongest game character, based on just how much weight they can carry, was I think was a Steve from Minecraft, because that man can carry lots of even bigger stacks of items than even the Factorio engineer. In theory, I could be wrong. I think I didn't actually watch that video, but when I was watching the guy's video and he was going over the strongest characters, he referenced Steve as well as the main guy from the main dude from Terraria. I don't know if the dude from Terraria has a name, or even if he would. I don't know what the protagonist of Terraria's like community name is, or you know, the quote unquote unofficial name. Because I know, you know, in games where like Factorio and such, you're not playing as a named character. You're playing as a person, just a game character who doesn't really have much in the way of personality. only the one you insert. But sometimes communities like to add the unofficial name, or maybe he does have an official name that people try to use. But like Steve from Minecraft, for example. Technically speaking, Steve is an unnamed protagonist, and it's whoever you are and however you would decide to play him. That's what defines his character. But his name is Steve. But according to the people that made Minecraft, the guy's name is Steve, or at least the default skin for the Minecraft character. The name of the skin is Steve. So that's how we know the main guy from Minecraft, Steve. All right, I'm gonna get these queued up real quick here. And I need to start move towards green science here in a bit. Still not quite in a full-on automation realm just yet, but at the very least, want to get things moving. I might just go with the idea to push towards blue science as fast as possible, so I can get bots. At the very least, I want to get to a place where I can get myself a decent setup. I'm trying to get. I have a hard time multitasking. I have a hard time playing the game and collecting my thoughts at the same time. So I apologize for the weird pauses and me sitting there struggling to find words. But what was I thinking? I was thinking that I definitely want to go for trains, because then I can have everything move. I can expand outward and then bring everything back to a central area. And I believe trains are locked behind green signs, as this demonstrates right here. But I want bots as well for more quicker automation. That way, I can just blueprint something and it'll just build itself. And I won't have to worry too much about having to manually put down every single smelter. But bots are a ways away, as it is. We're still in red science, and we're just barely getting into knocking out the research for green science. Thankfully, they're both red and green are simple enough that I can get those automated pretty easily. But for the time being, I better get this going. I also want to get military science set up too. I guess the big question is whether or not to prioritize blue science over military science, or at least make sure I knock out military science before real quick, so that at the very least my defensive line can maintain as I'm working my way towards blue science. It's what I normally do. Only alternative I could really think of is I could just speed my way towards blue science and forego military science, and that way I can get everything going off the ground, get better automation off the ground faster, and then once that's all taken care of, I can get military science. I'm only hesitant because I don't know how fast I can get that. I can knock that out before I start to reach before I start to reach issues with bigger biter attacks and more evolved biters. If we start getting big biters, then we're gonna have an issue. Because the only way I'm gonna be able to tackle big biters effectively is with armor piercing rounds, which does not require military science. It's actually but it is a necessary ingredient in military science. So on top of that, I'm going to need to unlock military science if I'm going to increase my bullet damage. And on top of that, I will have to get military science will be required for unlocking the flamethrower, which is the best biter defense I could unlock. But I need military science to do that. So hard to say. It's too early to say whether or not which direction I'm gonna go. As I'm thinking about it, if I'm being honest, I'm probably leaning more in the direction of speeding towards blue science so I can get automation out faster, and just hope that whatever perimeter defense I have set up can withstand the biters all the way. The biters even once they've hit a decent evolution size. The only way I think I can mitigate that would be to avoid killing biter bases, at least until I need the space. Because destroying bases, I believe, is a major contributor to biter evolution. Like destroying a nest specifically, it contributes quite a bit to biter evolution. Obviously, I can't avoid biters evolving because they evolve with time and with pollution. But if I can mitigate at least one of those factors, it will slow them down. It will slow them down, their evolution down, at least slightly. And I could leverage that to help me get to blue science quick without much of a headache. So hopefully that idea works. If not, then whoop-de-doo, I guess. I'll just have to roll with it. Alright, got ourselves set up more or less. Just need to plug this in and get ourselves some copper. Better make sure. I'm going to need to collect. I should have grabbed more ammo while I was up there. This is going to be a recurring thing. Me just going one direction, grabbing a bunch of stuff, and then leaving. And only by the time I reach my destination do I realize I forgot something, so I got to run all the way back. Thankfully, I got these belts up, which will speed me up slightly. But hey, slightly can go a long way. All right, belts are doing good, and ammo. That's a nice stockpile of ammo. That is good stuff. All right, gonna get myself some heavy armor here in a bit. Gonna need steel plates before I can make that, but they'll definitely pay off in the long run. Doing good. Stream's holding up, so that's good. I'm gonna try and mess around with audio stuff because I don't know if this is picking up correctly. I think it does. I watched the previous live stream like not too long ago just to make sure everything worked. I know the last time before I took my long hiatus, I'm kind of messed up a little bit with the recording and with my sound settings, and I was getting all echoey, which is annoying, but it's not the end of the world, I suppose. What's that? No? Okay. Got a little concerned there for a sec. Thought that was an expansion party, but no. It's just the worms. Just the worms just chilling. They're not of any concern at the moment. Alright. Let's get those down here, and then these two down here. It should be a decent defensive box here. And I think I got enough space in my power grid to add another lane here, just so I have myself fully saturated copper. When I start to expand, I'm definitely gonna have to add more, but at the moment, this should do me just fine. Drop that down. I don't need that much copper ore. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. There we go. That's copper. And that's the most basic components of this factory already figured out. Within like 2 hours, little over 2 hours, I suppose. Well, like I said, this isn't going to be a Factorio speedrun. Well, we got for ourselves a full-on smelting stack, which will do us a great deal. Let's see, moving this other guy up here. So I'm gonna move these guys down. All right, knock this guy. I think last I checked, we're definitely going to be getting pollution hitting this side here. Good news is, we're still at 0.06 on the evolution chain, on the evolution scale. We won't have to worry about medium biters until 0.20, I guess? 0.20? I don't know, I don't recall exactly. Point is, evolution is not good. Evolution is not so high that that's anything for us to worry about at the moment. So, well, that's good. Let's get this factory working. Okay. At the moment, I should probably consider automating gun turrets. So that way I don't have to hand feed it the whole time. So. Thankfully, the gun turret recipe is easy enough to work with, so I just gotta... What am I looking for? There you go. Just need to do this real quick. Get that, and then that here. There you go. Bring off some copper. Get ourselves that. And that should be automation, decent automation for gun turrets. There we go. I don't need a lot of these, so I'm just gonna block that off just so we're not overbuilding. And then I think, I'm not sure what the next thing should be. Automating. I think I'll automate some screen circuits next. That will typically go on the bus too. So I'm gonna try to do something off to do like a separate entity for that. Not separate per se. There is a production line that I tend to do when making green circuits. It'll make sense here in a bit, but I'm going to need quite a bit more of these. Again, I don't know what I'm going up here for. Alright. I don't need this much wood in my inventory. Oh, I should set up a box to collect the copper. There's always going to be some little detail I'm missing, some little aspect that I forgot to do. Just how it goes, I guess. It's nice that there's an oil field right here, so that as soon as I start getting oil production, when I start needing to get oil production going, I can just build it right there. So that's nice. It's always nice when these things are, convenient. Let's see. I came down. I went the wrong direction. I don't need to collect copper ore. I need to collect copper plates. No biggie. Just gonna go back the direction. I told you this is the thing I do. I run one direction, realize I went the wrong direction, and we'll go back. It's tales all the time. All right, that's green science and the last of the red science, at least the last of the solo red science. All the technologies that only take red science are now taken care of. So now it's all we're not gonna be able to progress on the tech tree until I get green science. So I might as well move towards that. And you know what? I think that is exactly what I'm gonna do here. No, it was. I need to automate the green chips. Yeah, I better do that. Okay. I'm doing it again. Oh yeah. I forgot what I was doing. With all the red science tech pretty much taken care of. I don't need this setup anymore. It did good work, but it's no longer required. Okay, just take this down here. Okay. Now, I don't need a ton to start, so I'm just gonna go get enough basic automation taken care of to get me the factory moving. So a single green circuit thing should suffice. And then I don't know if I should start with. Should I do red science first, or I'll do the green science first, I'll do the green circuits first, and then I'll automate red science, and then when I've automated the red science, I'll automate the green science. I think that will be the plan for the time being, because I've only got so much space to work with already. I'm gonna have to change the direction of the bell of the bus here in a bit. It's no biggie. Let's see. I'm gonna need more salt. I'm gonna need more space than this. Which means I'm gonna need more ammo. Thankfully, there's plenty of ammo right here. Get myself some belts. That's a lot of belts. Just out the way. Leave some space. There. Nope. Not quite. There you go. Okay. I got rid of these darn rocks. Getting in my way, rocks. I don't need you. Well, that's one way to burn an hour. Alright. Let's see. So, in circuit protection, I suppose I should just make the blueprint real quick. Well, maybe not. How am I going to do this? Let's start with, I only need a single line here. Bring these guys down. And then at least 2 spaces down. That can be iron. Pull this down, and now we'll start with this, I suppose. There you go. 3, and that goes like this. Don't ask me how someone. Oh, that's concerning. It looks like we're going to be getting ourselves some biter attacks, and this might be actually. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that base is definitely absorbing pollution, and this one, that one's going to be absorbing pollution pretty soon. Nope, it's already absorbing it. Okay, not a reason to panic. It's not good, but not a reason to panic. All it means is I better stop dilly-dallying. Let's see. Okay, get this off the ground here. Get that iron. Let's see, get this here. Don't ask me who came up with this ratio. But supposedly this is the proper ratio of red wire, of copper wire to green circuits. All I know is that I find this design oddly appealing. And then all I just need to do is this, rotate, and boom. And that is that. I don't need anything fancy for the time being, just need to set this up. There we go. That should be good. I need to make sure I get these guys set up. And now it's just a simple matter of plugging everything in. Get everything decently powered. This bad boy here. That should be good. And this one here. And make sure it's all connected. And then just plug it in. And there is green circuits. It ain't perfect, but it should do the job. And with that, I can automate the next two sciences. Starting with red. I'm not gonna have, as it is, I don't need that whole lot, so I'm not going to worry about like an insane amount of science per minute. So just enough to get science off the grid, science moving in the direction I need it to. So, with that said, I've already got the buyers coming at me from multiple different directions. So, how are we going to do this? I need to push towards trains and blue science. Which needs chemicals, so I need fluid handling, which needs engines and automation 2s. So I need automation 2 and I need engines before I can get fluid handling. Get that gar. And I need that to get pump jacks. So that's our goal for the time being. So let's get started. I'm gonna need more assembly machines. I'm gonna need more inserters. A lot more inserters. Which means I'm gonna need a lot more iron and copper. Also, before I do that, I'm going to need, I don't have it underground. Lovely. It's just the stuff you gotta deal with. Just gonna grab this here. Alright, so I'm already going to run into a cliff. Look at that. Look at that. Stinking cliffs. Don't need you. You're not doing me any favors, cliffs. I should definitely, what do I need for automobiles? Right. Logistics 2, which will unlock automobile and trains. Obviously, it's going to take a while for those things to fully research, so I've got time, but definitely want to. It's nice to have a plan, you know. I'm gonna have to embrace the spaghetti for a while. In other games, in other playthroughs, I would normally like try to get myself planned out, like the layout, how much of one item I'm gonna be producing, as well as how much, how many lanes and how many belts of iron, how many belts of coal, yada yada, all that. But don't really have the time to be doing that. Neither do I have the resources to be doing that. So, gonna have to put that on the back burner. Thankfully, we're still not. We're doing fine for the time being. I gotta stop forgetting what I was doing. Give me them yellow belts. Yellow inserters, I mean. Already got yellow belts. Alright, let's start with 4. I'm gonna start with 4. Let's do 4 assembling machines worth of red science. That's, of course, the actual number will be 8 because I'm going to be direct feeding. Get that. There we go. Give me some gears. And red science. Of course, that needs... Red science needs copper, so I better bring the belt that over. There you go. Get this guy here. And that should be red science. Easy as pie. Which is not... For the record, pie varies in difficulty level. It depends on the pie you're making, obviously, but I don't know who thought pie would be pie should be the standard for how easy a thing is. Anyway, that's red science automated. Next thing would be green science, which is slightly more complicated, but still should be easy enough to make. I'm gonna need more. I don't need this. I'm gonna need more assemblers though. Do that real quick. I hope this smelting stack can handle both sciences. All right, how many do I want to make? It always takes slightly more than red for when it comes to green. So let's start with 6. 6 assembling machines worth, which means I need at least 2, around 2 or 3. And if you're wondering what I'm counting, I'm thinking of the belts. I need belts and inserters to make automatic green science. So let's do 3 and 4. Now if I'm doing 6, I'll do 4 and 4, and that should feed 6. I did that wrong. I don't need it. It's not 1-to-1 when it comes to the belts and inserter automation, because each belt operation turns out 2 belts. So and it's only 1 belt for each green science. So I only need 6. If I'm gonna do 4, I might as well do 8, honestly. So I think I'll do that. Plus, any excess can be turned into... I can leech off the excess. I'm still waiting on the... There you go. Nope, wrong direction. Nope, wrong button. We doing this correctly, guys. I don't know what guys I'm talking about. I'm talking to myself. Give me a break. And that works on the same basic principle. Grab iron. And that goes here. It is nice, so kind of, that it's practically 1-to-1. All right. You know what? I'm gonna limit gun turret automation even more, just so I got things, just so I have just so it's not leeching off all my arm plates. Ammo production can stay where it is. I'm gonna need plenty of ammo going forward. All right. I'm gonna do this a little bit differently than the other build, though. Okay, gonna get this direction here. I better just turn this on. All right, so that's belts. Next thing I need is inserters, which I can't do the same direct fed thing, or can I? No, I can. I forget. Forgot that there is a way for me to do the same, but it's a bit, but it's only slightly trickier. But I'm gonna have to extend this out slightly further. I don't know. Can I? I suppose I could try to see if I can squeeze it into this little space here, but just in case, better expand. Pollution cover isn't gonna do me much good. It's already doing with it's already. Biters are already getting a face full of pollution anyway, so it's not like slightly less tree cover will kill me. It will be nice once I get this set up because I can leech off of it. If I got enough of this stuff in excess, I can leech off of it, and I won't have to constantly hand build all the stuff by hand, like manual. I won't have to personally build everything by hand. Not that it's me specifically automating it. I'm trying not to ramble, but it's not working. Okay, let's see. The big question is space. Do I have the space to do this? Let's start with gears. Inserters take 3 ingredients, which is what makes it slightly more complicated than making belts. But these need gears, and then I'm going to do a belt right here. That will be the other iron, I guess. I gotta make space for the green circuits. Gotta knock this out. Get these trees out my way. How you doing, guy? How you doing? Inhaling my smog. Okay, get that. Just gonna pull copper over here, and then what we're gonna do is line these guys up like this, and now they'll slot in right here. And I ran out of the cylinders. Hey, when it happens. While we're waiting for the rest of those assemblers to insert themselves, I'm going to add this here. And it looks like I am going to have the space for it. So, you know, hallelujah to that. Get this out. That is going to be where the green circuits come in. Bring these guys up here. And this bad boy down here. And that should work. You gotta love simple mechanics allowing for these kinds of creative designs. Unfortunately, I cannot claim to be brilliant. Claim that I'm the one that had this brilliant idea. This is an idea I did get from someone else. And for the record, I know I said earlier that I try not to use other people's ideas. That only got me so far. I have seen other people's videos in the past, and I mostly use them as inspiration. I didn't really directly copy their ideas one to one. if I noticed an idea and I thought, hey, that might be interesting, or that might be useful, then I would test it out, see if how it would work, and if it worked for me, I would implement it further. So that's where you get designs like this and the green circuit design over here. This more direct fed thing is sort of a partially inspired by this kind of design. My earlier designs before I came up with stuff like this were a lot more convoluted. And it was partly why I had such a hard time in other playthroughs was I would sit there like, okay, I need to do this thing, but man, it takes so much work. And then I would kind of just give up. Which is never fun. Because I enjoy the game. It always annoyed me that little inconveniences like that where no would cause me to like fall off. It's more of a personal flaw than anything else. Nonetheless, this should get us what we need. And that is inserters. Perfect. Now, just need to complete the last step. I have to curve around this cliff here. No, wrong, not dying. Never mind. That works just fine. Bring this over here, bring that up, and then we got ourselves. Do I want to do 4, 6? How much green science do I actually want? Let's start with 6 for the time being, because I want to be able to leech off the excess. Get that, knock that out. You know, I have to get the impression that I tend to overthink this game because I think this is probably the fastest I've ever put up green science before. Normally, it takes me a lot longer than this to get green science up, and I think that's just, again, pretty sure I just overthink this whole process because there you go. Automated green science. Of course, now we're just boxing them, not quite feeding them out. They're not quite, the science itself is not fully automated, so I think I'm just gonna have to redo this particular aspect. So let's shift gears here real quick. While we're doing that, I should get myself some labs because I only have 2. Got at least a decent stockpile, at least. Science is not going to be progressing very fast if I'm being frank, but it's not a big deal. Give me some line there. Grab me some green circuits because that's an ingredient in all this. And then make a bunch of that. And looks like my concern about whether or not this thing would fully saturate would handle it. It is technically handling it. It's not handling it very quickly, but it could be worse. I'll just once I'm in a comfortable position, I can just expand the iron production a ways, and look at that. Pollution is now hitting another nest. It's interesting that only one of these. It's only saying that only one of these nests is actually absorbing the pollution. That's interesting. Oh, okay, no, now it's 2, but I suppose I'm not producing that much pollution, hence why I'm not being attacked as much. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things. I'm not going to take these guys, grab these guys, expand my defensive perimeter because I do not want to die. Alright, I'm going to redirect this over somewhere. Bring this here, put this direction here, and then green sides. Grab you. Here, down here. Meet in the middle. And I'll do on either sides of the belt, and then bring the science lab over here. I think I have enough for this many. Nope, that's not nearly enough space. Not nearly enough space. Give these guys enough room to breathe. And that should be... do this correctly. I don't think... This is probably overkill as far as labs are concerned. But... like I said... better overbuilt than underbuilt. And then just plug it in. Alright. Science is moving. And then just feed the rest of the stuff I had boxed in. Look at those signs go. Alright. There we go. Now we're cooking. Add ourselves a defensive line here to make sure we're looks like it. Oh my goodness. That was a lot of small biters. I don't know if you can see what I was looking at. I didn't quite zoom in on it, but just ended up in a big old attack down there. That was a lot more small biters than I was expecting. Alright, let's get this guy fixed up. It didn't take too many hits, honestly, so that actually did not go. That actually wasn't all that. That actually wasn't all that bad, honestly. Looks like the defense. Looks like this. Our defenses are working. They're working as intended, which is, you know, goody. How's my power doing? Fantastic, apparently. All right. That's that. Grade science taken care of. We're already moving down the science chain. I think the next thing will be probably expanding power again. Not by a whole bunch, but enough. I'm gonna add a bit more defenses up here. I don't know exactly how bad of an attack I should be prepared for, but don't want any sudden power outages. There you go, and then I'm going to expand defenses down here, because biters are smarter than, because oftentimes in my experience, biters are smarter than they look. They have been known to circumvent my defenses, especially when they realize there's a spot they can't quite break through. They'll start to circle around it, figure out, see if there's an opening, and then pound their heads against it. So, want to avoid that. But even even a single gun turret was able to fend off quite a few. Mind you, it probably had some help from the side. Yeah, I had to look a little bit of help from the side here, but that's all right. Let's see, are they still? Yeah, no, they're still upset. That's engines. Next thing on the list. All right, we got ourselves some engine units. Do I want to work on getting steel? I suppose I could squeeze in a steel smelter right here. Think I will. I think I'll do that. I am gonna need steel, so I think that will be the next thing I do. Squeeze in a little steel smelter right next to the green science. Like I said, we are fully embracing the spaghetti this run. And to that end, I'm gonna get this guy out of my way. Copy and paste this bad boy here. Doesn't need to be that much space between the two of them. So, coal supply looks like it's doing just fine. Oh, but you're losing any? Yeah, slightly less saturated than I would like, but it's only 2 miners worth. Honestly, we're still doing good as far as coal's concerned. Okay, yeah, I don't need to worry about that. Copper's doing good too. So let's do that. Let's get this next. We're gonna expand. Okay, which should we do first? I think I'll expand. We're gonna expand power next, and then we're going to expand iron smelting. Copper is doing just fine, and so is green circuits. So let's expand iron so that I can add some steel smelting. Even a little trickle of steel will definitely be a big help. So with that, I need to grab these. Grab some iron. Get that, and then I'm gonna need quite a few mining drills. And that's fluid handling. So we're making progress on the pump jacks. Once you get the pump jacks, we'll be able to get oil gathered and on our way towards getting blue science. Which is it's also important for me to get steel off the ground sooner rather than later, because I'm going to need steel for the pump jacks to gather oil. So it's a necessary step. And these guys still not run out of coal. I am mildly impressed. I only just put these guys down, but I got to move them already. That's going to happen frequently in this run. I put the thing down, realize, hang on a sec, this doesn't quite work, and then move it. There we go. And get power going here. I should consider adding another... Oh, look, there's another coal patch right there. I could turn that into a... That is... Interesting. I have an opportunity here. Not sure I'm going to take the opportunity at the moment, but there is an opportunity in the future. Unfortunately, I am going to have to destroy that particular nest down there. While I would rather, at this stage in the game, avoid destroying nests where I can, I need to expand. I'm going to need this iron patch, and these guys are in my way, so it's got to be done. Thought I heard a noise. Could just be me losing my mind. It's been known to happen. Gotta remind myself I need pipes. Annoying part about having to build the steam engines by hand. I use up pipes, and then I build more pipes, and I run out of pipes. There's pipes and pipes and pipes. There's no reason for me to say pipes that many times. But nonetheless, progress is being made. There's definitely gonna be a lot more. That's why I'm definitely gonna be a lot more running back and forth, and constant running back and forth. It's gonna be a little annoying, but it's sort of a thing you just gotta deal with. I can mitigate it slightly, or at the very least, I can make the treks between certain parts of my factory smaller once I unlock the car. Of course, then I had to get my license, and then there's insurance, and then there's like gas, and gotta deal with all the potential traffic tickets I might get, and of course I could avoid the traffic tickets if I just didn't crash into things or break the law. But I am a terrible driver, so I find when you're not, I find it's good to be honest with yourself about your own capabilities. And, just bear in mind that, if you're not that great at avoiding, accidents, it's probably best to just be prepared for the accidents when they happen. It might be a bit of a cynical way to look at things, but, they always say honesty is the best policy. And I think it's really important for one to be honest with himself about how garbage of a driver they are. And I'm gonna quit this I'm gonna quit this bit now because I don't know. I don't really know what direction it's going anyway. I should definitely get a car. I'm definitely gonna get that car though. I gotta keep reminding myself that those worms down there on the bottom are not an attack party. That's an attack party right there. Those guys want to shoot my head off. Was there another attack? Or was that the same attack? And I'm just... No, it's the same... Wait. I can't tell. I can't tell if... Oh, no, there's another attack coming right now. What timing? Have fun, guys. Do you think they had fun? I think they had lots of fun. Now, once again, I found myself running all this way for not really understanding, knowing why, and oh, okay, I see how it is. Yep. Definitely going to need to be expanding on my iron sooner rather than later because I'm not getting enough to the science. Not that it's not that I'm in dire need for the science at the moment, but, I did burn through all the science remarkably fast, if I'm being frank. Even though I'm not Frank, I'm Matt, but that's beside the point. You know what I realized I could have been doing was I could have been building up this smelting stack while I was waiting, but it doesn't matter now. What does matter is I make sure I have myself ready for when I actually do need to build said smelting stack, and to that end I ain't gonna need more smelters. I mean furnaces, but you get the point. Alright, that's power expanded. Should be plenty to allow me to expand the iron mine. And now that I think about it, I could very well... No. Sorry, that was an incomplete thought. I was thinking about belt balancing, and I'm definitely going to have to do some belt balancing shenanigans here to get for the iron mine. But first, I need space. And sadly, I've yet to unlock a more efficient means of clearing space out than just whacking everything until it's dead. Well, not dead in a traditional sense. They're rocks. They're not alive. Contrary to what Pocahontas might say, rocks don't have a soul. I'm not killing anything. I wonder if someone might get sad about that. I don't care. This is another unfortunate downside to a biome with plenty of tree coverage. Because hey, let's buy pollution, but you gotta whack a bunch of trees if you want to get your job done. There is a way I could speed up this process, but it involves smelting steel for some reason. It's not a big deal. Still can wait until I expand the iron mine. Before I forget, because I tend to forget this a lot, I'm going to save. I don't plan on saves coming, but it is good. It is a good idea to save frequently, just in case something happens, like computer crashing or something like that, or absolute disaster strikes. Those ones are never fun. Do I have enough? I don't think. I don't have enough. inserters. I need long-handed inserters also for the smelting stack. I kid you not. In other playthroughs, I'm always using these mods that add like extensions to the inserters, which basically means that it basically renders the long-handed inserter completely unnecessary. So I hardly ever use them. So it's funny for me going back to traditional play and using the red inserter. And it's doubly funny because I like the long-handed inserter because it allows for much more versatile builds as I've demonstrated previously when I was making the green science build. But that's the funny nature of mods and how they can affect gameplay. I'm so used to those mods that it's a little awkward, but I don't know. In the case of Factorio, as much as I enjoy using those quality of life mods and everything that are like so helpful, that I'm like, man, I can't believe I didn't have this. At the same time, I'm always a fan of games that add like small limitations to your gameplay, in which even the ones that seem kind of arbitrary. And the reason I like those is because I find when the player is forced to work within certain like limitations, it forces creativity out of the player. That's why I think it's partially why I like games like Factorio and other certain games that they're built within a specific rule set. And as long as that rule set makes sense and is easily defined, then, you know, players can just go crazy however they like. Some people might think you might think I would really love like a sandbox style game where, you know, the only limitation is your creativity. And while that would be true in theory, well, we got a problem. See what I mean? They managed to strike at the one spot where I didn't have defenses. Unfortunately, they made a horrible mistake. They attacked the spot where I happened to be. The dummies? And all it cost me were a couple of power poles. Which literally means nothing because power poles are just wood and copper. That's easy. You can fix that easily. Of course, I'm gonna need more ammo, so where to go get that? What was I talking about? I was talking about something earlier. I kid you not. I forgot what I was talking about. I hate it when that happens. Oh yeah, I don't really care for pure sandbox games where it's all like, here's all the things, here's a bunch of stuff that you can do, and here is infinite space with infinite resources, and everything is infinite. Make something. I'm like, okay, what do I make? And then the game will just say, whatever you want. The limit is your imagination. And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know where to start. I don't work well when there's no clearly defined goal. And that's why I like games like Factorio, because the goal is pretty clearly defined from the start. And the reason I think I got on that tangent because as nice as the quality of life mods are, what they essentially, a lot of them end up doing is just like, here's a limitation that we don't like. Let's remove that limitation, and forgetting that limitation is part of the appeal of the game. Is working within the limitation is just part of what makes the game work so well. I don't mean this. I'm not trying to say that like from some sort of criticism, like there's something wrong with the way people view games, or or there's like people are playing games wrong. Definitely not. I'm definitely not trying to say that. That's just my perspective on it. Let's see, where we at? Okay, so I can make home shacks when I get steel. Logistics 2, automobilism, railway, good stuff. I don't know when I'll be moving towards red belts. I might just make the move towards red belts. Actually, I can hold off on the move towards moving towards red belts for a bit at least. Because I don't. That's gonna take up quite a bit of iron just to upgrade everything, and I need to get myself moving towards blue science. That's my blue science is the priority. So 5-2-3 or 5-2. Do I have a 5-2? Weird. I do have a 5-2, but it's in red. I can just downgrade that, but it's weird that I only have a 5-2 balancer. Should I make a 5-3 balancer? Sorry for that. I think I will make I'm gonna make the 5-3 and then expand to 3 smelting stacks. Not right away, but it'll be nice to have the option, you know. And there's the 5-3 balancer, and it lines up perfectly. What in the world? But I don't have enough iron to get more. I need lots more splitters and lots more undergrounds to make that. It's the cost of belt. It's cost of belt balancers. For the record, I did not make any of these belt balancers myself. I don't know how people come up with belt balancers. I don't know what madness / genius it takes to make a competently designed belt balancer. I tried making a belt balancer in the past by myself, and it did not make any sense. It did not work. So, I look online. That's another example of, while I do try for the most part to use my own ideas when expanding this factory, I can only go. My creativity only extends so far. I have made efforts where I could. So, but sadly, I'm not that smart. Not that you need to be a genius to play Factorio. I definitely am one of the people who one of the things I love about this game is that even though it seems like the kind of game that only a genius will be able to play, it's definitely not. You don't have to be a genius to play this game, and you also don't have to be a genius to play this game well. Like, take me for example. I'm not particularly intelligent. I'm not trying to say that to like. And I'm not saying that just to rag on myself or anything like that. I know some people that complain when I say things like, "Oh, I'm not very smart" or something like that. I'm mostly just joking when I say that. But if I'm being completely frank, I'm not the smartest person. I think it's because I overthink. I spend too much time on small things, and I let my mind wander and all that sort of thing. So even if I could solve a tricky problem, it takes me a lot longer to get there than I think it should, and sometimes I overlook the obvious solutions because of that. So again, I'm mostly joking when I say I'm not very smart. Like, I'm not a genius, but I have an operational brain. But the reason I bring that up is simply, he doesn't take a genius to play Factorio, to beat Factorio. I know a lot of geniuses do like. I know there are a lot of geniuses that do like to play it. I've seen Dosh Doshington, I've seen Doc Jade, and I've seen Troopin and all kinds of those different videos. Those guys are like straight up geniuses in my eyes, and I do not think I could come up with a solution nearly as effective as they could. But the game is simple enough that even somebody as me, somebody who's not quite as intelligent as those guys are, can still operate within it. It can still make the game. It can still make his builds work and solve problems within the game. They may not be the most brilliant solutions, but if it works, it works. And I have fun with it. Like that's the point of gaming in my eyes. Is as long as you're having fun, and who cares if it's who cares if it's not the most optimized, most brilliant design that a Factorio player can make. Games are for having fun. That's the main message. Some people have fun making the most optimized build known to man, and all power to them. I'm sure as long as they're enjoying themselves, I'd like to say, go ahead, do that. Solve those math equations. Make the most optimized build known to man. Go crazy, my friend. But me personally, I'm just here for the fun of it. And because of and with that in mind, I find this game to be really incredibly fun. I mean, obviously, everyone would assume I find the game fun. Otherwise, why would I be playing it? I'm not a masochist, and I don't see why anybody would play a game they don't enjoy. Like that genuinely baffles the mind. The idea that I could just be playing a game that I don't like. There have been times where I played a game that I didn't particularly care for, and that was mainly for like I had a specific reason behind it. But it was a game I genuinely found miserable, that I just did not enjoy, that I just hated playing. I tend not to stick with those kinds of games for a while. In fact, I can't really think of a game that I hated so much, that I just hated. Like, reminded me of a conversation I had with my sister where I was asking her, like, what was her, like, one of her, like, least favorite films, and she, like, talked about it, and one thing she mentioned was she didn't really think about it, and she couldn't really think of an example of a film she disliked, because she doesn't think about the things she dislikes. And I thought, that makes sense, you know, why spend all that time dwelling on things you dislike? Yeah. Of course, I'm the kind of person that has a lot of things I dislike about certain things. Like, I definitely have a list of films I didn't care for. I couldn't tell you what my least favorite film of all time is. There are some films that have bugged me in the past, but same goes for games. I'm sure there's some games in the past I've just not enjoyed, but I'll be frank, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't recall what those games are. Because again, why spend all that time focusing on things you dislike? And in the case of games, why would I spend all that time playing a game I don't enjoy? So, all that in an incredibly long-winded way of saying that I genuinely enjoy this game, even though I'm not particularly good at it. It looks like I got myself the second iron smelting stack is up and running. Just gotta connect it down here. How are we gonna do this? Connect it down there. Will that work? I suppose I can make it work. It's probably not gonna work as well as I would like, but nope, this ain't gonna work. I don't need this to be right here right at the moment. It's the unfortunate aspect of spaghetti that I don't particularly care for. There you go. Pressing buttons with no rhyme or reason. I'm glad I left myself some degree of space. And there we go. Iron has been expanded. Hopefully this results in more efficient, more effective everything. It looks like it's already doing its work. Grain science is picking up speed. Logistics 2 is on its way. I'm not going to move towards red belt just yet. But it's good that we have it. And I didn't get any alerts, so I'm guessing I didn't suffer any major damage from any other attacks. I don't know, even if there were attacks, they probably went splat against my defenses without me even noticing. Of course, with that, we've now expanded. With that expansion, we're going to have a lot more pollution going out, which means a lot more nests. And I can't, my map, and as far as my map is concerned, I can't. I should definitely. I don't normally do this. I don't know why, but I need a better grasp of my surroundings, so I'm gonna build a radar. Again, don't ask me why I don't normally do this. I just forget, or I don't know if it's because I'm too lazy or something like that, or I don't want to waste space or something like that. But I tend not to use radars. But nonetheless, here we go. Small square of coverage, but hey, it will expand soon enough. And we're about half of the way towards medium biters, which is not half bad, honestly. Like, we're already expanded as far as we have, and we're still not haven't gotten any medium biters. So, okay, here we go. Got ourselves attack in progress. Let's go. Let's do it. Onward to glory, and look at that. The process is working. Better not dilly-dally, though. I believe the next thing I had on my docket was expanding to steel. Let's make ourselves some steel. It will not be a proper steel stack like I would like, but it will be something. I was gonna squeeze it into this little space right here, but I think I could squeeze it right here. Actually, now I think about it. I'm gonna move this a couple squares over here. That ain't gonna work. There you go. And there we go. Gonna need to use these. All right, here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to. Didn't need to do that. In fact, I can move this one over here like this. I'm gonna clean that up later. That I'm gonna need to clean it up. that looks awful. Okay. And then I need to pull out some coal. Darn trees. Get these guys out my way. Alright. Bring this down. I got a bad boy down here. How many iron furnaces do I... I'm not gonna go for a full thing. Just enough to get me a small trickle of steel. Okay, I guess that'll work. Get that going here. This is what happens when I do impromptu designs. I sit there wondering, what am I doing? You know that thing I mentioned about leeching it off? I'm not doing that. I should definitely be doing that. Alright. This way I don't have to hand feed. What am I doing? I pressed the wrong button. There. Now I don't have to hand feed inserters anymore. I don't need that many inserters. Okay. Oh. They're coming in force. Unfortunately, they got a slight handicap there with all those trees. And yeah. Didn't stand a chance. I think nature defeated them more than anything else. I don't need to do it like that. We're going like this, like this. I'm missing these. And of course, this. And we just gotta plug it in. And that is steel. Just gonna shove this in the box for now. It ain't gonna be amazing considering how small I built this, but small trickle should at least help me get some things off the ground, like oil and all that. I'm definitely gonna try and rebuild. I'm definitely gonna end up tearing down this entire thing and rebuilding, but I think I'm gonna do that once I get trains off the ground. I'll pause right here. These guys here, and I got radar's doing its job, expanding outward. And look, we found ourselves uranium. That would definitely be handy later. Gotta do some cleanup here. Knock these guys down. Honestly, we're doing pretty good as far as this like last playthrough. I think it was already going a lot better than the last playthrough I had. All right, still axe, fantastic. Now I can whack things harder. So don't need to save me some time when I do have to tear some things down. Still not going through a lot of copper. Still too early for us to be going through that amount of copper. But the biter attacks are pretty minuscule. In fact, I still haven't had to attack any nests. That's pretty new as far as I'm concerned. That's pretty new for me. And evolution is not moving too fast. I guess pollution, with the amount of pollution and time I'm taking, those are smaller contributors than just destroying them. I think that is probably what the bigger issue I had in previous playthroughs was I always insisted on going around destroying the nests because I figured if I preemptively destroy the nests before the pollution cloud gets to them, then they'll be less of an issue. But I suppose it's a double-edged sword. I got a damaged belt I need to fix. Where's my repair pack? Put that there. Oh, look, a car. That'll come in handy later, I hope. Alright. Let's see. Let's check on power grid. Still holding steady. good. How's steel? We're producing. That's quite a bit. That's a good, decent amount of steel, I would say. And that is not nearly as many green circuits as I would like. Suppose I could stand to expand that a little bit. Do I have enough? I need 10. That should be good. Okay, let's see. Gonna have to cut this bad boy off. Move him over here, I guess. No, don't need to do that. Or do I? No, I don't need to do that. I'm gonna need to move these guys out of the way, though. I hate having to do that. Stick them in the trees where they're doing their best, where they're fending off the enemy. They're in the trees! Bad joke, I'm sorry. Alright, so this needs to expand outward, and then back upward. And then redirect. Don't have space for that. Railway. Alright. Now we're cooking. Do I need to expand to anything? Automated rail transport. Yes. I'm going to need this bad boy. And I can increase damage. Oh, that's good. That is good. Won't be needing military science for a bit in that situation. Maybe I can. Let's commit. We're gonna commit to the speeding towards blue science decision. I know last time we did this, we made a point of getting military science, which was not a bad decision. I don't think, but I think pushing towards blue science before we even get to military science might be the best play. That was wrong. And I definitely want to get a rail transport. I definitely want to get a rail system set up. That way, I can get a better move towards more what the Factorio community would describe as a actual base. Yeesh. That was a decently sized attack. Thankfully, it only damaged the turrets, but the amount of damage is mildly concerning. What was I saying? If I can get myself some the trains up and running, then I'll definitely want to start pushing towards making the quote-unquote real base. Which, if I'm being frank, is not going to be the real base, because I would break down the bases in Factorio into like three, perhaps even 4 phases. If I do this correctly, I should be able to make this base work with only 3, break the whole thing down to 3 phases. So this will be the base that gets me all the way up to blue science and potentially at the very least break ground on bot automation, even if it's not full bot automation by the time I need to expand. By the time expansion is like unavoidable, or the need for expansion is unavoidable. But at the very least, I'll get me going in the direction of getting bots, so that when the time comes, I can do that, and it'll definitely make things a lot easier. So let's call this one phase 1 of getting all this off the ground. Phase 2, I would say, is getting the railway up and running. And that one, I think I'll definitely want to put more thought into the layout. Because I definitely want it to be able to. I want it to be as easy as if I need more of something, I can just build outward. And expand outward. Which obviously is going to be a lot tricky because I'm limited on space with all the cliffs and all that. But it's not. It shouldn't be too hard. Uh, it'll just be a matter of figuring out where I'm at and what spots I need, and that might actually involve getting rid of some of these nests here, which will definitely make things slightly more difficult. Because even though I won't have the nests so close to my base, pushing them further along the their evolution level will definitely cause me some issues. Mind you, we're still at evolution 11, which is still a ways away from getting medium biters, and as much of a headache as medium biters can be, they're not that big of a deal, honestly, because I'm already getting enough ammo. I'm already getting enough ammo upgrades to where even yellow ammo will do as a temporary measure. So at the very least, I can definitely get my at the very least, as far as production is concerned, I can definitely move towards getting red ammo sooner than anything else. So point is, I'm not too concerned about that, even if I do start eliminating biter nests. But the main reason I need to start eliminating biter nests is I need the space. But the idea being that for phase 2, I want to make sure the base is easy enough to expand to where I can just simply build out, add more. If I need more resources, just find a resource node, add a train station, insert that into the train network. And then if I need more production on certain things, like I need more iron or I need more of this, I need more of that, just add another block onto it. Now that's how it would work in theory. If I'm being frank, it's never worked. It's not worked amazingly in practice, at least not for me. So it will be a little bit different, but I should work. And if I do it correctly, then I can see phase 2. I can see a phase 2 base done that way. I can see that a base done that way, pushing me all the way towards space and getting to the other planets and all that. Once I do that, once I unlock a lot of the tech on those other planets, the game will open up. It's so many different avenues. I'll be able to get rid of all these cliffs, which will get rid of any limiters on how much space I have. My defenses will definitely be on a higher scale, higher level, so I'll be able to set up a very solid perimeter defense. So the head of the biters will be little more than a nuisance than anything else. But hopefully, if I do it right, it should get me all the way up until phase 3, which will be what I would call the actual final base, which will be a base designed for lots and lots of science and interplanetary logistics, and include all the major upgrades from that unlock with the other planets. Now that's the ideal scenario. Whether or not that actually happens in this playthrough, we'll see. If I'm being honest, I highly doubt it, but it doesn't hurt to have a vision. And I think with as much progress as we've made so far, I'm fairly confident in, at the very least, being able to make some part of that happen. Obviously, the big limitation will be me in my creative mind. But with that said, I think I made quite a bit of progress in this particular run, and I think I'm going to call it here. Let's see. We started having only completed 1 stack and no mines, to having 3 smelter stacks, 3 mines operational, all of them decently well. Green science up and running, and now able to build a train network if and when I have the wherewithal to make that train network. I don't know why I said it like that. I'm definitely going to get that train network up and running. But, let's see, it's good to knock this stuff out. It's only 20 sciences. I don't need that. I can do with this. Let's scale this. Alright, that's what I'm going to be working on next time we come back here. Next time, I'm going to push towards... What am I going to push towards? I got science. I'm going to get oil, the petrochemicals off the ground. Get that working. Get everything I need to push towards blue science. And while I'm working towards blue science, I'm going to start pushing towards things like getting our train network set up. So that's definitely going to be on the docket for next time, for the next playthrough. We got a small stone patch, which hopefully will be enough to get me off the ground. But I'm gonna get that figured out, get a train layout figured out, and just as well, I'm going to see what space I have to work with. So so you've already got cliffs here, which are restricting my movement, but there's a whole lot of space out here that I don't even know how much space I have to work with in that regard. So I'm definitely gonna go on a bit of an exploratory mission, figure out how much space I have to work with and what I'm gonna need to expand out. So, and then get all that going. I'm also definitely gonna want to consider getting a perimeter defense up and running. I've got the walls, I've got the turrets, I've got the means of ammo production, so it should be as simple as that. Just setting up walls, make sure my perimeter is taken care of, and then get everything going. And with as much progress I've made today already, I feel fairly confident. Oh, look, another one. Oh, great. But that was today's live stream, and we'll tackle the rest of it hopefully tomorrow. The current plan is to start a live stream tomorrow, since tomorrow is Tuesday. I do have a shift scheduled. I do not have access to what? What in the world? That's weird. Oh, sorry. Got lost in thought. Anyway, we'll see about having another game session tomorrow. Get this thing going. Anyway, if you jump in at a later time, I hope you enjoy, and I hope everyone can take care of themselves, and just God bless. And with that, I bid you adieu.